All right, we're a couple of minutes past the hour. Some people may join us in progress as we move along, but don't want to keep everyone waiting, so I'll get started. Welcome, thank you. My name is Dan Benoit. I'm the president of Lift and Shift Loyalty Incorporated. I'm here to talk to you today about some of the things that we do and focus on, which is using data to drive reward programs. Hence the title, From Data to Dollars, B2B reward program strategies that work. So I'm going to start with a quick share of my screen here as people are still joining. Go. Okay. And fantastic. A few notes on today's agenda, a brief introduction of Lift and Shift and who we are and what it is that we do. And then on to the meat of what you're interested in here, why you've joined us today. We're going to be sharing 3 key B2B reward program strategies that you can use to design or improve your own existing reward program. We'll be talking about specific ways to set up the program and design it to generate growth. Managing different customer sizes and types. Customization is very important in generating success inside of a reward program. And then ultimately using sales data, hence again the title, to influence behavior and some of the ways in which we do that. We're going to follow that up with a specific real-world application. We'll go through a case study of a targeted growth initiative that we implemented for one of our clients back in 2024, and a bit of a spoiler, I'll tell you that it was successful, and we did roll it out across more customers. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then I've got probably about 30 to 35 minutes of content that we'll go through. There will be time for Q&A at the end of the session. You'll notice that the chat is open. I encourage you, as a question may come to mind, to drop it into the chat. If I'm able and can pick it up in time, I'll address it immediately on the spot. Or at the end, we'll take a moment, go back, look through some of the questions, and respond at that time. So it should be, as I said, about 35 minutes of content, and then depending on questions, we'll go to the full 45-minute allocated time. Thank you very much. And we'll get started. So as promised, a little bit about us. Lift and Shift, we're B2B reward program experts. Why do we say that about ourselves? Well, you can see some of the clients that we represent, manufacturers and distributors across multiple industries. We run only B2B program for them, no consumer-based programming. And we've been doing that since 2012. So, we've had the opportunity in that time to build a large sort of storehouse of experience. We've got 30 people who are very experienced in running these programs. We've built a technology platform over the years that has supported the 80 or so reward and incentive programs that we've launched in countries like Canada, the United States, Mexico, Australia, the Caribbean, South America. So really almost a global touch point on multiple areas of the globe. But that technology platform is proprietary to us, and it's built to be very modular and flexible. We'll talk a little bit about some of the ways that we've used it as we go through the examples today of strategies, but you really sort of get an idea of how that goes. When people ask me, what is it that you do? Because the concept of a B2B reward program isn't globally understood. I say that we marry sales data with incentives to change buying behaviors, right? So that could be driving incremental sales and purchases. It could be, reversing specific sales declines, due to competitive intrusion, market factors. We can address lapsed customers who have stopped buying specifically, and that's one of the things that you can find inside of the data as you're running a program. But more specifically, we can fill sales and purchasing gaps on a customer by customer, salesperson by salesperson basis. So there's a real variance in the number of things that you can do with data. I'm going to touch on a few of them today, but ultimately we really can promote any strategic sales goal with a reward program that you might have. And so it's a very versatile tool. And then lastly, our position in the marketplace is a little bit unique. We're a full service program administrator. And so that means that, we offer a multitude of services from the initial planning of a reward program specific to your business model, through to the implementation on that technology platform that I was talking about, as well as the operation of it, data and analytics, communication platforms, creative, customer service when you're dealing with member services, reward fulfillment. I think there's basically 10 different categories of services that we provide to make sure that your program is implemented and effectively executed. And that's really one of the things that we'll talk about, when we look at our program philosophy, which is a little bit different than you might expect. First off, is that we believe that a reward program is a profit center, right? So it's not the traditional marketing investment and, let's put it out there and see what happens. It's a very direct correlation between the investment you make in your channels, and your sales team, and your end customers to create this program. In turn, they're going to reward you with increased sales. They're going to reward you with increased purchasing, depending on what you're looking at. So I'm just seeing that we've got someone stuck in the lobby, and let's just get them in. Thank you for those of you who are just joining us. We're just getting started with a little bit about lift and shift. My apologies. I saw that you were stuck in the lobby. We've got you in now. I hope you're able to pick up on the conversation as we're going along. So I was just talking about how we view a reward program as a profit center. There's a very direct correlation between the investment that you get and the returns that you see. And you can very clearly draw a statistical line between all of those things. So the way that we do that is by better use of your data. And that's really the theme of today's conversation. And then replacement of traditional discounting or rebating practices, using the intelligence from that data, and leveraging improved connectivity to your members. So that could be, again, channel partners, it can be end users, customers, and that's important. We often speak with a lot of manufacturers who aren't certain that they can operate a program because they don't have great connectivity to their end users. They're selling through two-step distribution. And we have multiple ways to address that, but ultimately what you want to be able to get is that direct connection to the influencers, anywhere down your supply chain, distribution chain, and make sure that you're effectively motivating their behavior. We also believe that it's crucial to engage as many target audience members as possible. We're having a weird animation thing go here, so we'll just go to the end. And that's one of the strategies that we're going to talk about today. You want to create a program that can be responsive to variances within your customer base or your channel partners, right? So small, medium, large, good, better, best, new customers versus existing customers, your VIPs. So there's a segmentation element that you can build out of the data that's critical to overall program success. And then, as I was mentioning previously, we are a full service organization. So we're slightly biased towards this last point, but as you'll see, there's a fair amount of complexity in proper design and execution of a reward program. And so the design and execution of it, we believe, are entirely crucial to your ultimate success. And so, we've set ourselves up in a way that we can, lend to your success without you having to add a headcount or bring on new skills into your organization, train on a software as a service platform. We're an execution oriented organization as well. So it's a little bit about us and how we approach things. You'll see that sort of pay off in a number of the things that we're talking about here today. As well, I will repeat one more time for those who are just joining us. There is a Q&A session at the end. The chat, though, is open. I will encourage you to post any questions immediately when they come to mind, so you're not trying to remember later on. But also, if I'm able to pick up on those, I will try and answer them in line as we go along while it's topical. So please make full use of that as you can. So without any further ado, let's talk about some of the strategies. So I mentioned I was going to cover 3 of them today. Strategy 1 is program design and a focus on growth and performance inside of the program. We believe that you want to start with a modest base offer. Okay, this is the element that gets people engaged in your program. It's like the everyday value. It's the promise of immediate sort of reward for your custom with the company or your sales if you're doing a channel partner program. So you're rewarded for your ongoing business. You can do it based on a dollar metric, which we're showing here, 1 point for every $10 that you spend or sell. You can also do it based on units, right? It's a very common sell 1 unit, get 100 points, that sort of thing. So we have a number of programs that use that strategy. In our world, this represents generally a quarter, 35% of your overall investment. What you want to do is tie most of your program activity to some level of performance metric, okay? And we have 2 of them here. The first one on top is sort of a volume-based performance metric, where someone going through the first 50 units is going to earn at one rate, and then the next 100 units is another rate, and then the next 400 units is another rate, right? So that's the traditional volume-based. You're rewarding your high performers at a higher level, and they obviously develop a level of affinity towards that. But more and more, we're moving towards a growth-based strategy, right? And in the B2B world, this is a very easy concept to explain and get people to understand because they're tracking sales and purchases all the time. And what you'll see here is an example wherein we're offering that base rate. So say you're 1 point for every $10 in purchases. For purchases up to 10% of 10% growth on your numbers last year. So let's talk about Q3 of 2025 versus Q3 of 2024. So if you buy up to 110% of that amount, you're earning 1 point for every 10. But if you grow your business by say 10 to 20%, you're going to get 2 times the points on your growth. From 20 to 30%, you would get 5 times the points on your growth. And from 30% and beyond, you would get 10 times the points on your growth. And this is a key element in really locking in the ROI of your program, because while this is a portion of your overall program spend, and it's geared towards loyalty, and that's very important from an ROI standpoint. Like we often see an average of about 400% less churn on members inside of the program versus customers who don't join the program. So there's a definite ROI there. But that 25% sits here. The majority of your reward spending should be on increased value as a customer or as a channel partner. And what you get in that manner is if you get the results, you get the expenditure, the 2 are tied in a model that makes sense, and therefore your ROI looks good. If you don't get the results that you're projecting, and we'll talk a little bit about forecasting and modeling in a minute. But if you don't get the results that you're projecting, then you don't offer those higher levels of rewards, and therefore your ROI stays whole, which is a very important strategy. Okay, so strategy number 1, tie a lot of, or the majority of your reward values in the program to some level of performance. Secondly, not all customers are created equal. Okay, so I talked about customer segmentation in brief off the top. You have your good, better, best customers. You have independents and chain accounts, enterprise accounts. Those enterprise accounts, for example, have likely negotiated a national pricing that may be a few points better than your independent accounts are receiving, and therefore, when you're building a customized reward program, you may want to treat that important segment of your business slightly different than your independents from a financial perspective. And so you can offer them a different model than your independents. So your independents might receive that 1 for 10, but your nationals who are buying at a much greater rate and a lower level of profitability could get maybe 1 for 20, as an example. And the way that we handle that is with dynamic content on our website. So when a member logs in, you'll see here there's multiple options on what they might see. And that can have different program models. That can also have tailored content to things like new channels, right? So we work a lot in the plumbing and HVAC distribution business, and you treat someone who's a plumber very different than someone who's an HVAC installer, and you don't necessarily want to offer up the same products and as suggestions for goods to purchase to one or to the other. So you want to have that level of segmentation in how you're speaking to them, how you're addressing them, offers that you're making. So you want to have that in there. Also, you may have new customers, and I'll talk more in detail about that in a minute, about how you take them from being a new trial customer to really ingraining purchase habits with them and keeping them for the long term. As well, you're going to have different kinds of customers, right? So I talked about smalls and larges and independents and nationals, but we have a number of clients who sell a fair portion of their product to municipalities or to hospitals, where there's a legal limitation on being able to accept rewards. And the way that we handle that is with a varied reward array, where people can select the kind of rewards that they want to receive within a program. And so you may get a national chain or a municipality who cannot accept a personal reward. And so they're going to be much more interested in benefits that lead to the bottom line, right? So free shipping, account credits, free product, so they can convert their rewards into additional product. So things that reduce their bottom line. And buyers and national chains tend to like that as well, because it can improve their cost of business, and that's going to help them achieve their bonuses. So it's a very motivating factor for them. You may find some small businesses who are interested in business style rewards, marketing support materials. We do a lot of contractor business. You get lawn signs and door hangers and all of that kind of stuff. Those are important elements that really can add value to your relationship with them. And then, of course, you have the traditional people who are interested in those personal rewards, gift cards, merchandise, event tickets, all of that kind of stuff. Allowing them to self-select into the reward that's most important for them is really allowing them to tell you what's most motivational, and really helps you build the success of your program overall. So a very key strategy: do not make the mistake of treating everyone the same, because they won't all react the way that you want them to, right? So let's vary the offering and the available rewards to each market that we have. All right, so let's move on to strategy number 3, and that is the data itself. And we talk about it as being the gold mine that you already own. For some people, you have that data right now. If you're a distributor or you're in direct sales, you know exactly who's getting elements, and we can use that data to jump into things like growth programs right away. If you're a manufacturer selling through that two-step distribution, as I mentioned, we have a number of strategies and platforms wherein you're going to create that bridge to your end user. In order to build a program for them. It could be claim submission, it could be data submission, it could be working in partnership with your distributors. I'd be happy to talk to you about some of the options available to you along those lines. But you want the data and you want to know how to mine it. And then you want to unlock the insights that are inside of the data. And this is one example of the way that we look at things. So we run algorithms on the monthly sales data to understand all kinds of different things that may be happening. And what you see here is an example of a gap analysis, right? You're going to have multiple kinds of customers who purchase in different ways. Member A here is a loyal customer who's buying most of your product categories or product lines. And maybe there's a hole in category 4. Maybe category 4 is a new product that you're launching and they haven't tried it yet. So to that customer, we would suggest a bonus offer, 2 times the points on a minimum spend against this product or category in order to get greater share of wallet with them. Member B is that new customer that I was talking about, and you want to have a strategy for them where you're going to offer bonuses on multiple things, perhaps at once, perhaps over a journey of a number of months. So we find that to be very effective in creating that purchase habit, building that relationship with your sales team and your CSRs, and having those multiple purchases. So 1 month it may be 5 times the points on category 1, and the next month it could be 2 times the points on category 4. And you can test offer elasticity as well with those new customers to see what really tweaks them, because it does vary from client to client, and it's important for us to understand that. And then there's every other variation of client out there in the world, member C, member D, member E, member F. Our algorithms will analyze the data and automatically address all of these situations that we set up when we sit with our clients and build out the strategies for creating sales. So this is some of the ways in which you can do data. There's also some of the more traditional ways, lapsed customer. I mentioned that before. If member D suddenly stops purchasing altogether, and maybe they're not big enough to have their own sales rep, or they're not getting monthly touches from their sales rep, then a reward program that reaches out and says, hey, we haven't seen you in a while. Here's an offer for you, just for being a great customer, 5 times the points on a minimum spend of $1,500 or more this month, right? So we can bring them back into the boat and try and reactivate them. And with all of these things, you want to have clear reporting afterwards, right? So who did we send the communication, the new customers in member B style there to? How many people did we send it out to? How many people availed themselves of the offer? How long have they now been customers versus those who didn't avail themselves of the offer? How long were they there? And then new customers who came in and didn't join the program at all, how many of them did we keep, right? And that's the churn rate that we were talking about. So looking for those insights in your data, absolutely critical strategically for building your program. Now, because we are a reward program and we like bonuses, clearly, here's a bonus strategy for you. Communication, very, very important for building a successful program. You want to engage your customers, not just passively, but you want to be, using all of these strategies for proactive offers and communication. So the way that we do that is with monthly or bi-weekly statements. It depends on the cadence of the individual program. And those statements contain not only the sort of traditional purchase, the point information, this is your point balance, hi Dan, that kind of customization. But I talked about performance targets, right? So clearly communicating those performance targets is critical to success. So we're sending them a target that's calculated based on that model, right? So what is it, 10% that we're going after for tier 2 level growth, which is 2 times the points? All right, so we tell them what 10% looks like. This is your purchase target for the quarter. And then as we're communicating to them in those statements over the course of the quarter, we tell them how they're progressing against that target. And in this case, Dan, who's a good customer, is already at silver. So they're in the plus 20% range, and we're talking about, hey, you're only $3,100 away from achieving gold status, which would be 4 times the points, right? So you're dangling that carrot, and importantly, you're moving that carrot and keeping people growing and moving through that growth piece. And again, tying the bulk of your reward value in your program to these elements ensures the level of ROI for your rewards that you're putting out there in the marketplace. And because this is a sort of very personalized and important communication, it's also my bank statement. How much am I getting and how can I spend on my rewards? we get very high levels of open rates. I sit in a number of our monthly status meetings with our clients, and typically the numbers in the high 50s, low 60s that we see for open rates, which is 2-3 times above industry norms. They do get up as high into the 70s as well. So it's a very important communication strategy. And then as you scroll down this email, you're going to get the bonus offers, right? So we were talking about purchasing gaps and new customer offers and how do we move that out there? Well, in that monthly statement that goes out, you're going to have various offers for products or categories that are gaps, or hey, we missed you style offers, all of those things. Each email that goes out is built dynamically so that the experience I get as a customer is personalized to me and my sales growth opportunities. And so maybe I'm going to get 2 times the points on Husky liners for my for the custom trucks that I put out there into the marketplace. And that's going to help me get the $3,100 that I need to get to my growth bonus, right? And so you create that flywheel effect where the individual values start to really build up and people get excited about the rewards that they're going to get inside of the program, but always geared towards those profitable changes in behavior. And of course, you can put general offers in there available to everyone, particularly seasonal offers or new product introductions, all of that kind of stuff. It's a great communication for that. We also do links to YouTube videos for training on new product and all those kinds of things. Really solid pipeline to that key decision maker in your distribution chain. So a highly important tactic. So I mentioned, or I promised that we were going to get to a real world example of some of these things that we're talking about. So I'm going to take you through a case study on a growth-based targeted bonus offer. So how did we use the data to drive sales? We had a client, distribution will still have a client, a distributor, who was looking for additional activities to fill out their annual calendar. They were doing a lot of product-based bonus offers, a lot of those, not buying this thing, let's give them an offer. And they were using, interestingly, sponsorships to pay for those bonus offers, right? So they go to their vendors who offer co-op or MDF funds and say, hey, would you pay for 5 times the points if I put it on your product? And they generally get a very good reception on that. It's the kind of thing that manufacturers feel very comfortable supporting because we give all kinds of proof of performance documentation. This is how many customers were buying before, how many bought after, how many points you gave away as a result of the bonuses, and then at a cost per point. This is the cost for the vendor to participate. But they were looking for ways to infill that calendar with additional things geared towards driving growth. They were getting growth throughout their customer spread at different levels, and they wanted to incentivize that growth without subsidizing the existing growth that they were already getting. So the question was, how can we cost effectively do that and impact different groups that are in different places all at once? So we used our data and analytics to look at the historical purchasing patterns and understand where people were at and assign them relevant and attainable individual sales goals based on growth metrics. So this is above and beyond the quarterly that we're talking about. This is a very surgical, specific element that we were putting in place that was above the current level of growth that they were expecting. Importantly, they're only rewarded if they attain that level of growth, very much like the tier program, but this is a limited time offer. And then we supported that and built awareness about that through not only our account statements, but also a dedicated email at the beginning of the program and then throughout a couple of times with large scale communication that was providing their individual target. In this case, this person was at a $1,500 level, and that was above what they were purchasing. And then it goes into that that tile formation that I was talking about in the account statement. So generated a lot of awareness. And what happened was beyond just about everyone's expectations inside the program. And we're generally very optimistic about these things, but this was a great result. And so what we're seeing here are various cohorts inside of the program, the $1,500 cohort, the $3,500 cohort, so on and so forth. The red bars represent those who qualified for the program in terms of achieve their growth target in February of 2024. And what you can see is that in the ingoing period, in the ingoing 4 months, while they were achieving growth, we were able to pop that growth level up substantially. And that is something that repeated itself across the cohorts. Some of the cohorts were already doing, very well to begin with, but in all cases, we were well above trend. And that was great. Everyone was very excited. We did it again the following month with a separate set of customers qualified. And what you can see is a replicable pattern of growth here, where people who were in growth pushed their growing up even further. So what we're getting here is consolidation of spending, because oftentimes, even if you're the preferred vendor, there may be ancillary spending that's going other places. And once you get people engaged in a reward program and connected to these bonus offers and then receiving value out of it, they get very into how can I get more account credits and drive more money to the bottom line, or I'm only X dollars away from my big screen TV, or whatever the individual rewards motivation may be. They get very engaged in how to do it. So ultimately, what we got in terms of impact of the program was very exciting. As I mentioned, all of the targeted segments saw growth, and the growth was significantly above the trend for what those members who qualified were doing prior to that. When we looked at the dollars and cents of the program, we got a lot of interest internally with our client. The incremental sales generated an incremental net margin of over $750,000. And that's how we measure ROI at Lift and Shift. We think it's a very stringent measure of ROI, but a very important measure of ROI. We look at how much additional dollars you're getting into the system, not the base dollars, but margin based on growth after all of your expenses in the program, which in this case, they spend about $10,000 on points, right? For that 2 times the points for people who achieve their growth targets. But many of you, I'm sure, will agree that you'd be happy to spend $10,000 as a budget to generate $750,000 worth of incremental margin. It was an ROI of over 7,600%, which was, a big number for us. I can tell you that when we presented that to the marketing team who was responsible for, onboarding the program and rolling out this specific promo, they were over the moon. When they presented it to their senior management team, they were, we'll call it cautiously happy. The controller had a long call with us, and we went and audited all of the information they needed to understand how all of the growth was coming together and how we were calculating it. At the end of it all, they were convinced, as we were, because we generated the reporting, that it was a very, very lucrative promotion for them. And the question that I often get when I present these results to people is, well, how much pull forward purchasing did you get, right? What happened after the promo? Did they all go dark? And I'm very pleased to say that during the combined period of the promotion and the quarter thereafter, that group that popped up their purchasing had achieved a growth rate that was 8 percentage points higher than their ingoing trend. So in hard numbers, they were running on average a 21% growth rate, which is pretty typical inside of our programs. During that period, the 2 combined periods, so where you might see that bit of a dip afterwards, it was a combined 29%. So they were up 8 points overall. And when we went through all of that with the team, they were super excited. We were also very super excited one of the things that we do at Lift and Shift is share best practices with our customers, right? And as I'm sharing this with you, we went to a number of our customers and said, hey, this is something that one of our customers that we just rolled out with them. They had incredible results. We think it would be great for you to try as well. 2 clients immediately opted for trials, and they saw the same levels of success. One was in the high 6,000, and the other one actually crested 8,000. So percent ROI, big numbers. We were so happy to see that, again, it's a replicable tactic, and we're using it over and over again. We have another client trying it for a first time starting in November. So it's a really great promo that we've brought together. It's no risk, right? And that's the way all of these things should be, right? You're setting up a scenario where you're creating an offer for people that makes sense financially for you. If you do that, I will get this and you will get that. So it's a win-win scenario overall. That's how you want to set up your programs. That's how you want to use the data. That's how you plan for solid ROI in your program overall. So a quick recap. You want to look at a performance-based cost structure for your program. Tie your rewards to changes in behavior that generate incremental dollars for you. Second, flexibility. You need to have the ability to have a platform that can speak individually to your customers or to various customer segments. Use your data and incentives to change customer behavior. Look at those increased sales activity, the increased share of spend, consolidation of purchasing, new growth from new customers. Didn't talk too much about that today, but that is another strategy that we use a lot. And then again, from a position of admitted bias, we think that the way that you get there is by using a turnkey service provider, us or someone else that you have confidence in, that can offer you a powerful platform to do this. It's extremely difficult to manage this sort of a thing in-house and find the core competencies. For us specifically, our clients on average have a team of about 18 people that touch their account on a monthly basis. So it's the kind of thing that really helps you ensure success. And you can do that with a great ROI for ultimately administrative costs that is less than adding a headcount to your team. So it's a really strong proposition. So that brings us to the end of our content today. We're just about right on track, 35 minutes of information. We're going to move into the Q&A section. You've been a quiet group. I haven't seen a whole bunch coming up. Let me look in here. I did have one question immediately about, what about manufacturers who sell through distribution? I did touch a little bit on that. So I want to make sure that I'm clear to you on some of the strategies that we use around that. One of them is, I mentioned the submit a claim, right? So while you might not have historical data with a claim, when you have a third party submit the information in, we can use a stepped strategy where in the first year of your program, you can do that volume-based, performance-based strategy. And now you've got historical claim information that you can compare against and reward growth levels on top of. So that's one way to do it. We also have a product that we call Distributor Data Direct, where we work in combination in partnership with your distribution partners to supply sales data, right? Which we act as sort of a black box, anonymize the data so that we can show you the proof of performance and what's happening inside of the program, and we can run it. But we, preserve the integrity for your distribution partners, and they're worried about, whether or not you're going to be trying to sell direct to them and all that kind of stuff. So we've been very successful at selling that program into a number of markets. It's worked very well, and you start right off the bat with two things. One is an easy program for people to operate from a perspective of, they don't have to send in those claims and submit things online. And two, you get the historical data where you can really see the historical purchasing from a growth perspective, but also those purchasing gaps, right? Because when you're doing a submit a claim, there is a certain amount of, well, I'm not sure if I'm just seeing what's being claimed or if I'm seeing everything that's being purchased, right? There's a bit of a difference there. So those products are super helpful in rolling out these strategies. There's a question about excluding certain customers from a program. And that certainly is something that we do fairly regularly. I mentioned earlier national accounts, right? So if you don't want to have a separate tier or a separate segment for your national accounts because the margins are very tight, we can manage an exclusion list, which is basically you say, hey, these account numbers aren't able to join the program. If they did try to enroll on the program website, what happens is that they get a message saying, it looks like you're now eligible for the program. Please contact your representative for more information, and it gives a link to that. So it's very easy to manage that overall. We're coming down to the last 3 minutes on the webinar. I'm not sure if I get to time, if it kicks me out or not, but I see that there's another question coming in. So if you've got a quick second and are able to do that, we'll see what happens if we're able to get one more question in. Oh, this is a good question. What sort of effort is required for your clients to manage a program? So as I mentioned, Lift and Shift specifically, because I can only speak from our experience, is a full service provider. So the majority of the work to operate a program, the administrative tasks, the calculations, all of that stuff, the creative development, happens internally on our team. And we manage that through a monthly status meeting. A few of our clients, it's twice a month, depending on the level of activity inside of the program. So it's 2 hours a month for our clients, and which is why I say you can really get this sort of return without adding any additional headcount on your side. And it's certainly far easier, and because of that, far more effective to operate a program in that way than trying to squeeze it in, I would say, evenings and weekends with some of your existing staff. Last question for today. How long does it take to set up and launch a program if you're shooting for 2026? Well, you're on the bubble right now. We tend to have an implementation timeline somewhere in the 90-day range. There are, of course, the holidays coming up. But January 1st isn't a hard date, even though you may want to hit the 2026 calendar. We've often launched programs mid-month with retroactive periods to the beginning of the month or even the beginning of that quarter if we're a little bit later in starting with certain customers. So certainly lots of opportunities to have a program for Q1 right now. If you're interested in doing that sort of thing, we'd be interested in talking to you. My contact information is here on screen. I'll leave it up for a couple of minutes. You're also going to get a link to a copy of the recording here after the webinar. And if you ever lose track of either of those, of course, you could find me, Dan Benoit, Lift and Shift Loyalty on LinkedIn. And I'm keeping an eye on those communications, of course, always. Would love to talk to you in person. I hope you found this session informative. Thank you for your time and hope to talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.